What would your 5-year-old self say about you? How would she describe you?
Let me just ask her. How would she describe me right now?
Yes.
Ah! Oh, I think she's intrigued. I think she's proud, actually. And I think, oh, that's a good one, isn't it? I think she's really proud because she loves to write, she loves to play, she loves to dress up, she loves to talk to people, and she's got big magical dreams.
Oh.
And I think that she's like, oh, you came back, you found the magic again. And she, like, my 5-year-old self had no qualms in knowing that she could think something and make it happen, or that magic exists and reality is only as we perceive it to be.
Yeah.
And I think she's like, oh, good, you've remembered again.
Oh.
I know.
I hope that wasn't too overpowering for you.
No, it's lovely. It's beautiful because I think about her. Like, she loved Enid Blyton, and we'd always be like playing the faraway tree, like with someone who's very much a very dear friend of mine in my life. And we'd be all on the playground playing all these things, acting out these stories, like immersed in stories and like gorgeous fantasy things all the time. And also, I think at that age, we have no qualms about sharing our art or our words or our beliefs. You're like, I've done this picture, look, it's brilliant, have it on the wall. Or you're like, I wrote this thing, it's for you, have it. And I think that is coming back. And what a beautiful opener. Thank you, Zoe.
That is so gorgeous. And yes, you're so right. I remember making things for people, for my family, like for birthdays and Easter and Christmas. And I'd just be like, I made this thing for you. And just expected them to love it.
And they did, I'm sure.
Sometimes.
Oh my goodness, to have a Zoe Foster original gifted at Easter or something. That's like...
But isn't it funny how we move away from that, and we kind of, as well, I think there's a healthy moving away of needing that approval as well.
Yes,
definitely, because I think a lot of, as children, a lot of what we are seeking when we give something is some kind of approval and kind of love and attention. And definitely on my own journey, that kind of realizing I don't need those things. I'm probably better off without them, actually.
That's so true. Interestingly enough, I was recording a couple of chapters for Brilliance Unboxed that's going to finally be on Audible.
Yay!
I know, so I was recording a couple of chapters earlier in my really high-tech studio with the kids' duvet hanging behind me,
of course,
to make a sound booth, and it was exactly about that, about undoing the good girlness and the I've done all these things, now am I enough, now am I okay? And because that's just not part of how I operate anymore, I'd almost forgotten just how ingrained that was, and it is for so many people. Okay, so I've got the job and I've got the money and I've got the education and I've done this and I've done that, and now am I enough? And yet internally we haven't done that work. And rereading it and re-verbalizing it was really powerful, because I was like, oh wow, yeah, no, that was like the good first 30 years of my life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, so much. Yeah, and I think as well, for me, there was a move away. We think we become adults when we're like 16 or something, and we don't. For me, I really began to own my own adulthood I suppose when I had children, essentially,
Mm,
but yeah, into my third, from about 30 onwards, and that was when I really felt like I started to not need the approval from my parents
okay.
anymore. It was, it's a journey, obviously,
Mm,
because we're still daughters. But
yeah,
yeah, would you kind of concur with something similar, do you think? Or
definitely. I think that only my adulthood, mm, interesting. That probably started like, yeah, late 20s, early 30s, and definitely when I had the girls at 32. So my twin girls, Eva and Mia, when I was 32. And I think for me, that was obviously a massive life wake up call anyway, to suddenly have two babies on your plate.
yeah,
But also, you're then in the role of mum and having that mirror of
yes,
parenthood and going, oh, how much of this am I taking with me? How much am I questioning? And that has been ongoing and is very interesting in itself, and a lot
yeah,
of work around all that. But I think actually in my 40s is where I've really become really stepped into, no, this is who I am. This
yeah,
is me really doing the work on me and stepping out as me. I think in my 20s I was ticking all the good girl boxes, all the shoulds, all the career
yeah,
things, all the, in 30s it was like, okay, mum mode. This is my identity at the moment, is very
yeah,
much about
yeah,
bringing up small people. In my 40s, it's like, right, okay, what's this version of me without all of those labels? What am I doing at the moment? And that is just so juicy and so interesting to um, investigate all of those labels, all those boxes, and
it really
consider
is.
which ones I want to be in and which ones I really don't.
Yeah. And I want to probe that motherhood label and identity for a bit, because certainly I think probably every mother can identify with losing yourself, losing that sense of self when you become a mom, because everything, every like second, every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears is put into raising these little things suddenly, and it's hard. Even if you have all the, like, great birth support, all the rest of it, it's still hard. And then if you add in things like postnatal depression, or I know that you've had your own issues around this as well, and it's a ton of stuff that kind of, for me, certainly, I felt like my original identity, whatever that was, just was erased in one fell swoop, but then over and over and over again as well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I think it's really good to voice this, Zoe. So thank you for coming back to that. Yeah. I feel like my identity was obliterated, and it was hard, really hard. I think like going from, I mean, I'd begun to have chronic health issues. So there'd
Yeah,
been which I know that you relate to, there'd been a side of me that had been dealing with things, but essentially I'd gone from being a active, independent, financially secure on my own terms woman
yeah,
to then uh, taking maternity leave, being exhausted all the time. My body was in all kinds of bits after the birth. The way that you operate as a financial system has changed. The way that you are as a person is now completely gone. And I felt, I had really, really bad postnatal depression,
yeah,
for which I was incredibly lucky and got brilliant support for. Um, but it was as if I no longer mattered,
yeah,
and as if even to, like, dear family members who are excited for us, it was like the conversation stopped about how are you. It's like just about the family, how the girls doing, what are they doing, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh wow, I'm invisible now.
yeah. I can so relate to that as well. So relate to that. And actually I felt like it kind of, for me, and maybe I was hypersensitive to it, but for me I really felt that even when I was pregnant, because it was all about the, like, there was addressed to me, but it was really about the baby.
Mm.
And
Mm.
and everything was about the health or the well-being of the baby. And then, I had a run-in with a consultant or two, and it was everything was about the baby. And it's like, well, that's great, but I'm here too. What
Oh
about
my goodness.
me?
And I think as well, because it's so interesting how it's difficult to speak about motherhood issues,
Yeah.
because for multiple reasons. I think that certainly the time that we had our girls, lots of dear friends and family were going through infertility things and
Oh, yeah.
very traumatic stuff over there. And it's, I'm so honoured and blessed that we had these children. I didn't expect to be able to have them, given that endometriosis has been a massive part of my life.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult because I want to honour everyone's experience, and for there to be space to say, this is really hard.
Yeah.
And for it to be acknowledged that when your physical body, your emotional body, your spiritual body, your psyche is completely on the floor,
Yeah.
to be able to say that without it diminishing from anyone else's experience.
Yeah.
Because actually, it was so difficult that I, and it was really hard to be able to express it quite often, because it's very much like, oh, but look how lucky you are, oh, but look what you've got. Yeah, but I'm struggling to get through every day,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I want to be rooted in this experience. And now, so our girls are almost 12, and my partner Miles and I would quite often revisit those memories and talk about things we did, but we acknowledge that we try to be present in those moments, but when you're so tired,
Oh, yeah.
you can't. And
Yeah.
there's now a sense of grief around what we don't have now because they're now growing up. Knowledge that this bit's going to go fast as well. So I feel like the identity piece of it is just shifting so quickly. But what it is to be a mum of tweens is
Yes.
completely different to a mum of toddlers, and it will be different again. So it's like I'm refinding pieces of me, and I'm sure you relate to this. Like I'm refinding pieces of me again, but also letting go of that identity of motherhood in a different way. So it's like I didn't have that for very long, and now it's
Yeah. No, I absolutely am finding that right now, because they are in that, preteen phase, which I
mm,
felt feel like it's too soon, honestly. They're 10 and 11, but yeah, they're definitely starting to make that shift, and I'm already feeling I'm not I'm not ready for that next phase yet. And I'm finding it super challenging, and feeling like my role as a mother is already being shelved. It's
mm,
that kind of gradual detachment again, isn't it, of from them, and letting them go and become their own people. And that, when you've been literally you've given everything over to that, it's kind of
so
no.
hard. And the fact that nature designs it so that that stage happens while we're starting to enter perimenopause with its own little buckaroo of hormonal things is interesting, because as they're going through their teen transformations, we're going through our other end of it. And it's like, really? Because there's a lot of hormones going on in everyone's houses when that
Oh,
happens.
yeah. And what I find so incredibly frustrating and sad is that none of this is talked about. I think it's beginning to be, especially, in fantastic groups and peer groups like you hold, but generally speaking, it's just not talked about. And, I really feel for the generations before us, where,
Oh,
like, it literally wasn't talked about ever. It wasn't even acknowledged. Probably a lot of women didn't even know what was going on. honestly.
So true. And in fact, I think I've been perimenopausal for a couple of years, and it's kind of accelerating. And I'm noticing exactly that, Zoe, that there's pockets of conversations going on now where it's like, let's talk about this, let's share this, what are you finding, how are you dealing with it, what
Yeah,
support can we get? And honestly, the only snapshot I had in my head, and this is so stereotypical, was it happens for like a year or two. Women get a bit red and a bit sweaty and a bit flustery and a bit moody, and then it's done and it's all a bit funny. And but how patriarchal is that?
oh, yeah,
It,
yeah,
like, the women become this like hilarious menopausal thing, and actually starting to go through it, it's like, wow, there's hair loss, there's, weight gain, there's mood, like anxiety for me off the charts, there's all sorts, as the estrogen depletes,
yeah,
there's all sorts of things in the game that can really throw you off, and that reconnection to self is so important.
yeah,
And it's a sacred thing. I feel like this is a beautiful sacred part of our feminine journey to step into, like, an even more badass, wiser, like, version. And we're going through some of this stuff, and it actually needs to be spoken about, because
yeah.
to feel like that is actually quite scary.
And supported as well. I mean, our cycles are not supported either, kind of systematically, structurally, or medically, or
Mm.
nutritionally. None of it is really talked about unless you go and see, like, a specialist, a functional medicine doctor, or somebody similar. And that in itself, we have the knowledge now to be able to lean into our cycles and embrace them and actually enjoy them.
Mm.
And yet that knowledge, I feel, is being held back from us, from everybody, from every woman, unless you have the financial and, the kind of social means to go out and really get it.
Yeah, I think that. So I was on and off the coil to treat endometriosis, and I reached a stage some years ago where I was on this whole cocktail of medications and HRT and coil and all sorts of things to manage endometriosis, to the point where I didn't know what was affecting what
Yeah,
anymore. And I was like, hang on a minute. And we got to hysterectomy stage. And I was like, can I just, please,
yeah,
I just want to stop for a minute and start to take all this. And every time I removed something, I'd have like another 6 months, like withdrawal or hormone drop or change, remove
yeah.
the next thing, go through it. But then I got to my cycles again. And I'm like,
Wow.
right, this is what it's like to have my cycle. And so, yeah, it's painful, and yeah, they're erratic. But for me, I love the power of knowing where I'm creative, which
Yeah,
parts of me need to ebb and flow. Like,
yeah,
where do I feel really aligned? When do I need to go within? How does that sync up with the moon? And that happily costs nothing, because that's just awareness, and that's about self knowledge and
yeah.
um, accessing that part of you. And it is so incredibly powerful, but yet we are just taught to mask it, to make it go away. Let's hide the pain, let's hide the symptoms,
And
let's hide
also
all the
to
things.
fear it as well. There's this a sense of fear, but also a sense of it just being, irritating. It's a nuisance. It interrupts our kind of everyday life. And yet when from my point of view as well, I have learned, like you, to lean into it and to
Mm.
embrace the different kind of textures, the different real visceral kind of uh possibility in each part of the cycle, and knowing that yes, there is a part where I just need to be really, really tender with myself, and let the people around me know as well. But also, there's a part of my cycle where I'm just like, "Rah, bring it on."
Yeah, yeah, it's so
And then
important.
you've
And
got all the other bits in between, and to be so disconnected from that, which honestly I was since well, probably forever really, but I started taking the pill, I think, when I was 16,
Mm.
possibly, which is really common,
Mm.
incredibly common. And then I was on and off it for a couple of decades.
Yeah, me too. And the stuff it did to my body is it's incredible. But to give ourselves compassion for our 16-year-old versions of ourselves, we were doing the best we could at the
Yeah,
time. We were being responsible, and I love at the moment being able to model in a little way to my girls. One of them started her cycle now, and you know if she's tired and needs to cuddle up, great, let's embrace that. Like, I want them to know
yes.
that we don't push through, we don't just ignore what our body's saying. It's like, if you need to rest, then you rest. If you need hot water bottle, cup of tea, back to bed, great. But there's space for that. It's not about failing or about not getting on and being productive. And we women are the gateway of life, and to be used to it being like a task list or productive day that gets interrupted because we're giving
Yeah,
space for our magical cycles is absolutely nuts, isn't it?
it really is. And yeah, you're right. I'm so, so happy that we having kind of embraced that, or in the process of doing so, because it's an ongoing journey, at least for me, to be able to pass that on and feel like we can empower the next generation rather than passing on that kind of irritation.
Yeah, absolutely. And but then, by all the work that we do around embracing who we are and our femininity and our power, we're breaking so many cycles by doing that for
Yes,
our girls.
yes, absolutely. What do you think is, if there's kind of one thing that you would love your girls to just know so deeply within themselves as they're, over the as they're growing up, but maybe over the next 10 years in particular, what would that be?
Trust yourself, trust your instinct, and to know that you're enough,
Mm,
really, because that's what teenage me didn't know. 20-year-old, in my 20s, the amount of times that we override those instincts and those knowings and all that intuition, and then you forget what it actually is when it's guiding you.
yeah.
So trust when your body says no, trust when you have a gut feeling about something, trust your intuition because it's there and it's powerful, and know yourself.
Mm, I love that. Yeah, I've been trying to kind of begin to talk about the difference between what are, like brain and knowledge and
Mm.
um, things that we're taught explicitly versus, yeah, that inner voice, which both my kids are very different, but I think each in their own way they have it, but they also struggle to tune into it.
Mm.
And it's finding that way of supporting them and finding that and tuning in without it becoming another chore. Another thing that, oh, mummy's trying to do this with us now.
I know. I try and sort of crack open some conversations. I'm like, so digital safety, and they're like, oh no, and I try and like sort of weave it in, and then I really don't weave it in very well. But actually, I think what we forget, Zoe, is that we're probably embodying a lot of stuff without realizing it.
Yeah.
And my goodness, to live with you as a mother must just be such a gift. Like, you're an entirely magical being.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but even though you don't think you are, you're showing them all kinds of stuff, and I'm probably showing my girls. And I remember years ago when mine was still fairly tiny, and Eva was writing a journal in bed, and I said, "Oh, what are you writing?" And she said, "I'm just doing my gratitude journal." I'd never taught her this, but she'd seen it, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, stuff gets in," or they'll we used to do lots of tapping when they were younger. If
Yeah.
there was anxiety, so I'd make stuff normal, because to me it is normal, and I think other ways of thinking are getting in, and you know we have discussions about how people are reacting at school or in friendship groups, and what other perspectives might be available, and that kind of thing. So although obviously as parents we always think we're doing the worst job in the world, and
Yeah.
everyone's probably doing it way better, but I'm sure stuff's getting through.
Daily. I find it really funny because I do, like, there's very few days I don't have some kind of yoga, breathwork, meditation, practice. And I do it in front of them now. There were, like, 10 years ago I couldn't do that, or even probably even 5 years ago I'd feel weird doing it in front of them and I'd want my own space. But now I'm just
Mm.
like, well, you know, I've got to do it.
And also there is no space currently thanks to COVID, so
Exactly. Exactly. But they
so
see me
literally, yeah.
they see me do this every day, and I swear they just block it out. I've tried to kind of get them to embrace some aspects of it when because they're both quite anxious people,
Mm.
and parts of the breathing, or the like humming breath, or yeah, just various things, and they're like, yeah.
But you never know, later on that's a seed that's been planted, Zoe, and they'll know that that's a thing that helps. And I swear, because I do breathwork daily now, and but I swear it's like a magnet for my family. As soon as I start doing my breath rounds, or I'm on a breath hold, somebody walks in with a full-on conversation, and I'm trying to go,
Or
and it's
asks
like,
you a question.
yeah,
You're holding your breath, and somebody asks you a question, and you're like,
it's literally every day. It's just become hilarious now. But I think there's so much stuff that we normalize. But even what just painted into my mind then was, I know we both love our water and our wild swimming, and so I know my girls will see me go to the river and love my time in the water, and it's making them think about coming in and swimming and being in nature more, and stuff that we do naturally. The other day, Eva said to me, I can't wait until London opens back up again so we can drive you down to one of your raves and go and have a look at an art
oh,
gallery. And I was like, I've won at parenting now. That's what she's missing, is dropping mummy off at a rave and then having a spot of lunch after an art gallery.
amazing.
Okay, but that is obviously something in there that maybe later on, even as an adult, she'll think, oh, that was fun, or that was cool, that was really
Yeah.
even though it feels like at the moment all we're doing is watching episodes of Friends on endless repeat and trying to convince them to go for a walk.
Oh God, yeah. Get out the house. Go on, go. Get off the sofa.
I'll literally pay you to go to the shop. I know.
Yeah, it's definitely been a year of challenging. If I hadn't been so much more grounded in who I am, and I think that yeah, since kind of turning 40, there's that magical number, just really owning, well, this is who I am, this is what's really important to me, that's it, that's all that's important. But before that, and especially being a parent, my God, being in lockdown would just help you to feel like the worst possible parent in the world. And I have definitely had moments of that. Probably quite a lot, actually.
Me
But,
too.
yeah. Oh, yeah. So hard. So hard being a parent right now.
It is. And it's so interesting, isn't it? I was speaking to my lovely stepmom last night, and I see for the older generations who are on their own, they're so lonely, chronically lonely, and yet we are with people that we love dearly. But I'm chronically desperate for my own space. I know that you quite often resonate with that. You're you're someone who I know I can pop into WhatsApp and go, help, sorry, I need to place this somewhere. And you go, yes, witnessed, understood. And it's we're at the stage of like lack of personal space being really difficult. And there's people who are desperate to see people, and so it's interesting seeing this big like sort of chasm of difference in what we're all experiencing, and what things will be like when we begin to reintegrate on our own terms, or whatever that looks like.
Yes. How do you feel about that? Because for me, I've noticed a lot of anxiety kind of bubbling under the surface. It's not been really out there. It's not like I'm agoraphobic or anything, but I do feel like I don't want to go out. I don't want to see people, even strangers. I don't want to see people, which is really weird. I mean, I am an introvert, but I'm still sociable. And yeah,
I completely relate. I'm, in fact, just thinking about it makes my skin go cold. It's the people who all want to catch up, or who say, "Oh, we need to catch up." It's like, well, actually, I need to catch up with myself, because there's been very little ability to do that, and I don't feel like I'm ready to integrate greatly with people, and unless there's like equal balance of ability to be on my own, which will happen a bit more as the kids are back at school next week. But I don't have this big kind of, oh, can't wait to have these big groups of people. But on the other side, there's a lot of it that I love. Like, I've just really fallen back in love with where I live. And because we're forced to be local, aren't we? And I love going to different places. I love exploring, I love going to different places, but it's like, okay, we're having to really micro explore all these different areas where we are. And I've really enjoyed like the obligation side of social not being there, the kind of, I mean, as a family, there's always a million things that you should do, need to do, people that, extended family stuff, and not having any of that has actually...
Oh God, yes. Yeah, the joy of missing out.
Totally. And so now it's like, what should we do at the weekend? Nothing. Great. Because we actually can't. So that's fun. And obviously there's stuff that we all miss doing, but I don't miss having the weekends all being mapped out for us, because XYZ
carrying people around,
carrying people to parties or social events or whatever, that has been great. And which is a reminder of boundaries, of that we can choose how we spend our time. So I have mixed feelings about it, but mainly I need to sit by myself for quite a long time and rock backwards and forwards.
Did you find a tree yesterday?
What did I do yesterday? Do you know what I did yesterday in the end? I went to the gym, went outside the gym, and I did have a walk on my own as well, Zoe, after dropping into your WhatsApp. I had a walk on my own, got my feet on the earth, and I went to the gym for a bit and just had a little mooch around a shop on my own, which felt kind of like just that half an hour of, no one's going to come and find me. But trees and nature are my mainstay. And they just that it plugs us back in, doesn't it? Just to breathe for a little bit on our own.
So much. I know that you obviously love and are so dedicated to your wild swimming. I'm quite envious, really, because I generally I haven't got that, don't get that often at the moment for various reasons, but you're super dedicated. Is there, what else do you do to really come back to the core of you?
Swimming, so the wild swimming and the cold wild swimming. I mean, I'm very lucky, Zoe, that I live right near a river, with loads of beautiful access points to get into it. So I'm very privileged to have that. But that is the most instant re-access to self for me. more especially so, there's a dear friend that I swim with. I use swim in a wide term here because on some days it's literally cold water immersion, yelping for a few minutes. On some days it's swimming, on some days it's a mixture. But there's one friend who we hold space with and for each other in a really lovely way, and it's like just a therapeutic session for us. So that is like instant re-immersion to self. The breath work is a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
Just centering. I feel really odd if I haven't centered myself with breath work in a day. I journal, and I make space to just reflect on a daily basis. Immersion in nature of any form, sitting in my trees, going for my walks. But what I love to do is yoga, dancing, whether it's at home or out and about. And in fact, yesterday I just stuck on loads of really cheesy 90s tunes and was baking my sourdough in the kitchen.
Oh.
And just for that minute, it was like, okay, now I feel like Jo. I'm singing away. I've got my music on. I've got all the lyrics wrong because it's from the early 90s, and we didn't have the lyrics online in those days, and we didn't have smash hits or whatever at the time.
You memorize the words in your head. You memorize the wrong lyrics. Yeah,
memorized it all wrong. Had a massive sing song. So moments like that, I feel, bring me back to me. Or painting, get my artwork out.
Yeah.
Like those little pockets. But sometimes, like when there's that heaviness of the collective energy, or of just lockdown fatigue, or just general fatigue, it's so hard to get to those moments. And there's been several days, weeks recently where it's like I'm just talking to myself kindly, and it's like, okay, it feels quite slow this morning. Like, what's a little thing that I can do that might plug me back in? And it's like, right, I can whack on some Fleetwood Mac and brew a nice coffee. Great. Have I got energy to put some makeup on? Yeah, let's see if that helps. Like tiny steps to reconnect.
Oh, that's such a really fundamental thing that I think is not talked about enough, because you go on Instagram and there's all these like, this is how you take control of your life. This is how you fix your health problems. These 5 steps will lead you to greatness. And when you're in the thick of it, nobody talks about that, really. Nobody talks about that. I've just had a few days where I really, really felt so heavy physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Just like a lead weight, honestly. And with that, all of the kind of, the stuff, the mind chatter that you feel like you should have, somehow progressed beyond by now. And it's still there, and it comes back in those moments. And yeah, nobody talks about that, like it doesn't exist. And I know it's not just us.
I know. And you're right. If we look on social when we're in that state, I mean, first of all, social is the worst place to be when you're in that state, isn't it?
Yes.
It's so hard. Everyone's out there doing amazing things. If you look at my feed, often it'll look amazing. And so, like, if you look at either of us, we look like we're flying all the time. But I think we're both really good at also talking about when we feel called to, saying, actually, this is what's happening at the moment. And I know certainly that whenever I do share from behind the curtain of like, this is how it is at the moment, that, oh my goodness, they're the posts, they're the words that resonate with people, because you're finally saying, yeah, there's great stuff happening, but oh my gosh, this is really hard, guys. And often it is just the tiny moments of, it's hard today. It's really, really hard. What do I need to do to help myself? Do I need to move a meeting? Do I need to clear my day? Do I need to sit in my pajamas? Or would it help me more to feel like I just got out for 10 minutes, or something like tiny goals? Because actually at the moment, life is still really tricky for lots of us in lots of different ways. And that, if you think about the long-term stress we've all been living under for so many different reasons,
Yeah.
because of the pandemic and all the impact of all that. And even though, I recognize that I'm in a massive place of privilege with like all the kids have access to devices, I've got fields to the back of me, rivers I can swim in, I'm warm, I'm fed, like
Yeah.
I'm so lucky. And it's hard because, I'm personally grieving my dad who died, and lots of other family
Yeah.
members and a couple of friends who died as well. Plus, we grieve loss of personal space, we grieve loss of all things that did happen or didn't happen, and we're living with the daily fear collectively. So all those things combined after a year.
Daily fear and uncertainty of where we're going as well. That I really don't think that can be underestimated at all. We previous to this, we had a perception of what the future, even just the next year, might look like. And now that that's been completely taken away. There is absolutely no certainty about where we'll be next year, what the rules will be, and I think for me that's really taking its toll on a daily basis. And even if you're not consciously aware of that or acknowledging it, it's there. It's there, and that's a chronic stress that is constant.
Yeah.
That, because it goes right back to that feeling of safety and certainty that we, is a big survival instinct. And when we don't have that, it's a threat. It's a direct threat to our survival. So we are on high alert all the time.
We really are. And there's definitely waves, isn't there, where collectively you see people struggling en masse. You see, I noticed that it'll be at certain points for me, I'll suddenly reach a stage of just feeling so hemmed in and so trapped and so sad and so disappointed and so all those things, angry, and then I can move through it. And it takes as long as it takes sometimes. I
Yeah.
obviously have all the tools sometimes, but then the other day I was like, right, I'm really angry, really sad. I'm going to set myself a timer and I'm going to bawl and howl for like 10 minutes. And then I'm going to see if I can put it back. But I'm going to let myself just go with it. But the stuff that our systems have been under is enormous. And, the fact that we are still showing up and doing things, still creating, still having conversations, Zoe. I mean, look at you having this beautiful conversation with your gorgeous artwork behind you. Like, you've been making magic throughout that.
So for me, this has been my lifeline. And I was speaking to somebody yesterday where I said, the universe pushed me into this. And that was my fortune. That was my, because without all of this, I don't know where I'd be, honestly. Without, talking to some people like you, just, you inspire me and motivate me every day. And I feel like I've got that real connection to other people who are shining their light and living really, I hate the word authentic now, but
yeah, completely. And in fact, as I shared with you, through WhatsApp yesterday, it's just such a pleasure to have a conversation like this. And I have very few calls in my week now by design, but the ones I do have are with glorious humans, and you jump on, you're like, breath of fresh air, like lovely person to interact and reflect back with and to have some human connection with. And it's beautiful. It's a gift. And it is a lifeline, Zoe.
it is. So what motivates you to keep showing up and keep striving to become more Jo?
I am loving and relishing the adventure of becoming more Jo, of what Jo is capable of, without social approval, without pre-designed destinations or inheriting goals that aren't mine, which I did for
Yeah.
a long time, even on the self-development path. It was like, unless I have the massive house with the shiny, glass box on the back, and then I failed, all of these things
It's
amongst many other
easy,
ridiculous goals.
really easy to do. Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, I mean, a great example that is the wild swimming recently. It's like I just followed a breadcrumb and I got into the water when I felt called to it. I documented that a little bit. Turned out that I was invited to swim through winter with some people. Now it turns out I'm co-leading a group of 400 people now at the Cambridgeshire Blue Tits. And it's like, okay. And then that leads me to, I quite fancy training to swim an ice mile. Or
Oh,
or I quite fancy, and I'm itching to get my paddleboard back on this
yeah,
spring, and where can I adventure to? And I'm loving that analogy of adventure, of saying, just what if I can swim a little bit over the river and then paddle a bit and then hike, and where can I play?
yeah,
And I'm enjoying getting out of my own way and just letting what happens happen. But I'm also really noticing the days, weeks even, where I wake up and think, I've got nothing to say. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. What am I doing? But trusting that as the cyclical nature comes back round, I
yeah,
will want to share something. I will trust that there's a voice, there's something that wants to come through. So I think what motivates me to keep showing up is because in showing up for myself and for other people, I'm just discovering more of that possibility.
oh yeah,
I'm stepping into like a massive unknown, and just letting things happen now which I had no idea would even be possible,
yeah,
and going, okay, let's play with that for a bit. So it's, and also I know that when I process things verbally or in the written words or in whatever it is I feel called to share, that's usually because it also has an impact on someone else. So I trust that by transmuting and processing my own stuff and putting that out into the world in whatever way, there's usually people who message or email or whatever and just say, thank you, I needed to
yeah,
hear that. So I'm like, so that's what motivates me as well, is knowing that if I do the work, if I talk about that journey, that stuff in my own way, then maybe it serves a couple of people, and that is amazing. You
oh,
know?
you're right, and you're absolutely right. I love that you trust that in yourself as well, because my God, it's hard getting to that point where you trust yourself enough, you're confident enough that your experiences actually might reflect, back on other people. I grew up very much feeling like I was the odd one out. I was the only person to feel this way ever, whatever it was. And unraveling all of that and realizing that actually so much of, it's just human experience. Yes, there are bits of my own story in there, like there are for all of us. But
Mm.
how amazing to get to a space in our life where you're confident in sharing your own feelings, you know, difficulties, challenges, all of that, because somebody else needs to hear it. You just know.
Mm. But, and it relates back to what we started talking about right at the top of our chat, is that when I have those days where I'm like, Jo, what the hell are you doing with your life? What is your purpose anyway? You've got nothing to say. I usually go, oh, that sounds a bit like we're on day 22. Let me just check on my little flow tracker. And I think I can usually tell by my inner talk where I am in my cycle. And trusting, if I've just got nothing in there and I'm completely questioning what I am here to say or share or do or produce, that I'm like, this always turns around, Jo. This always turns
Yeah.
around. So let's just hang in there. And but yeah, you're right. Actually, it's taken a long time to trust that, because that would have been the stage where I would have burnt everything down, or gone
Yes,
into hustle mode, or gone into overcompensation or comparison mode. And now I sit with it. I'm like, cool, you've got nothing to say, mate. Let's just not say anything for a bit.
exactly.
Listen, create space, all fine.
Yes, and I just did that this weekend. So I turned off social media. I, eventually, not straight away, I did write a post to say, just little post to say, I'm social media fasting, because all of the voices in my head said, I'm just gonna delete my accounts. I'm not gonna tell anybody where I've gone. I'm gonna see if anybody misses me.
Yeah, oh, love. Yeah.
But I've learned that that's a repeat pattern. I've learned that, and you know what? That's one of the most. It made me laugh because I didn't write very much at all. I just said I'm social media fasting. See you in a few days, and it got so many likes.
But here's the thing, because I always say that if I'm going to take some time off social, and I'm going to this weekend because it's my dad's birthday tomorrow, and I'm going to want to be in just a space of away from it all. And you
Yeah.
always see the comments of, oh, if people are going to be off social media, just go, don't tell us. I'm like, no, because actually I find it really helpful if someone's saying they're going off. It's a reminder to me that
Yes.
it normalizes it, for one.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, of course I can step away. Also, what if I want to check if they're all right and I see a post that says they're off? Okay, great, I'll text them or just check in they're
Yeah.
okay a different way. But I think to voice it and just to say I'm stepping away normalizes that behavior. It's really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. So that was me parenting myself,
Well
basically.
done, dude.
And CEOing as well, as I'll saying. But also I let myself just curl up on the sofa for a couple of days with a Harry Potter. And I haven't read Harry Potter in bloody years because my kids, honestly, I'm not joking, we've had Harry Potter, all of them being read like umpteen times over, and then on audiobook for years on end.
Yeah. So you're like done with it now.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I just felt like, do you know what, I just need to sit down with a kid's book and
Do you know what? I did
go
that
within.
recently. So my world swimming buddy, Yaz, she's a kids author, and she recommended a beautiful book to me, The House with Chicken Legs. And she just said, Jo, if you just need to switch off and just read something really just magical but lovely. Oh my goodness, Kidlit is gorgeous, isn't it, for that?
It really
And
is.
I mean, Harry Potter's brilliant for that as well. You can just lose yourself in some magical worlds for a bit. It's easy to read. You're not going to concentrate on much stuff, and that's such a gift. But how hard was it for you to switch off and to then curl up on the sofa? Was all your inner voices screaming about stuff to be done?
Yeah, there definitely were some. I think because it's the Easter holidays, it was a little bit easier though, because it's like, well, the kids are at home and stuff as well. So, I
Yeah.
have to be here anyway. So yeah, and I have become kinder to myself in those moments, even though, there might be a war raging in my head. Um, some part of me is still looking after me, basically. I
Good.
don't know which part.
Yay, that part of Zoe. Go.
But yeah. Oh, Joe, it's such a joy to speak to you in this way, and I think we should do this every week, actually. But
I'm completely down with that. Thank you. It's just it's always lovely to spend any time with you. And it's been beautiful exploring areas of conversation that I haven't spoken about in a while, like motherhood and
yeah.
gorgeous corners of things that I could just talk to you for days. And thank you for having me.
Well, I have one last question.
Oh, okay.
So I guess it comes back to where we all are now, where we all might be going. But and also tapping into some of the feelings around everything that is going on, everything that is being kind of thrown up at the moment. What do you really feel humanity needs right now? If there is possibly one thing.
Oh my goodness. What does humanity need? So it feels so trite, but the word love is just the one that pings in, like self-love, love for each other, like under which I would put tolerance and respect and what do we need? There's so many things we need, isn't it? There's so many things that we need. Um, It's really got me. Let me have a little delve around into my word bank. What I see in like smaller groups and on the collective really is people need space to be heard,
Yeah.
to be witnessed. They need compassion, maybe, is the word that might
Yeah.
fill some of those. Compassion to ourselves, to be how we are, compassion for others. Yeah. We need light as well. We need more light from people like you, like me, just doing our thing and shining it in what feels like small corners sometimes, but there's a ripple effect.
Yeah. Oh, I just really felt into that as you were expressing it, and it just, honestly, it just made me kind of really drop down and think everything's going to be okay somehow.
Yeah, it will be. And, we've done the last year, which has been incredibly tumultuous and all the things, and yet hugely expansive. And this is a massive journey that we're all on. And it will be okay in whatever okay looks like for each of us.
Yeah. Yeah, somehow.
Yeah.
We'll check in 10 years and see what's happened.
Oh, yeah, I lied. It wasn't okay. Joe, you said it's going to be okay.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, thank you, Joe, so much for your time today and for
Thank you.
sharing your core truths, but honestly, so much of you, you shine so brightly. And also, I love that you share your shadows as well. I love that you share your challenges so openly. I think you're such a great model for all of us, honestly. So thank
Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Zoe. I received that and I love you. I love you and all that you are and all that you do. You are one incredible human. Thank you for sharing space with me today, beautiful.
Thank you so much. Where can we find you, Joe?
Yeah, best place to start is to come over to Instagram at the Jo Gifford and come say hi. And there's links to all the things I'm up to over there. But yeah, if you found me through Zoe, just come and say hi. I'd love to meet you. Yeah.